Today's episode of the Shameless Picture Show is brought to you by Severin Films. Severin Films specializes in Blu-rays and Blu-ray collections of some of the best forgotten cinema. Horror, foreign, exploitation, and shot-on-video movies with great collectible packaging and each disc jammed with extra features, commentaries, and behind-the-scenes features, including interviews with the cast and crews, and so much more. Keep physical media alive by visiting www.severinfilms.com. That's www.severinfilms.com, and let them know your friend Michael at the Shameless Picture Show sent you.
Howdy, folks. My name is Owen Brand.
And I'm Katie Cadaver.
And we are co-hosts of the VHS Vault podcast, where old is new and cringe is king. We are a podcast dedicated to bringing you old and obscure movies from deep in the vault.
That's right. You can listen to us on Spotify, Amazon Music, and on Planet Rage Radio Thursdays at 8 p.m. Central on the Live 365 app. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
And email us at vhsvaultpodcast@gmail.com.
The Shameless Picture Show is part of the Cinepunks Network. If you like the Shameless Picture Show and you want to hear other great shows like it, make sure you check out the Cinepunks Network. You can find them at www.cinepunks.com. That's CINEPUNX. There's other great shows such as Cinepunks. There's The Carnage Report, Cinema Smorgasbord, Fat Girl Hacks, Loud, Fast, Philly, Tomb of Ideas, and Twitch of the Death Nerve, and so much more. If you like punk rock and you like movies, make sure to go to www.cinepunks.com. And let's not forget the sponsors for the Cinepunks Network. We have the Lehigh Valley Apparel Creations. They are the premier screen printer of the Lehigh Valley with service to the whole country, professional and personable in a way that only a DIY business can be. They also have ridiculously low prices for whatever your screen printing needs may be. You can visit them online at xlvacx.com. That's xlvacx.com. Lehigh Valley Apparel Creations. We also have the Essex Coffee Roasters. All their coffee is roasted to order. They have high quality beans, bunch of apparel, and tea available. They are bringing high quality coffee to the masses without the pretentiousness. Use the code Cinepunks for 10% off your first order. You can visit them at www.essexcoffeeroasters.com. That's ESSEX, coffeeroasters.com. Once again, use the code Cinepunks for 10% off your first order. Big shout out to the band Crossed Keys for lending us that awesome fucking music during our little ad. That song is called Who We Never Were. You can buy that single currently off of Bandcamp. The band is called Crossed Keys. It will be on their full-length album, Believes in You. That song was lent to me by Crossed Keys, specifically, I don't know if he goes by Joey Angel or goes by Joshua Alvarez, but I met him as Joshua Alvarez. He's the co-host of Cinepunks, our fucking network, and I told him, I love this song, I want to use it, so that way people don't have to just listen to me talk, and he said, fuck yeah. So please, if you like the song is called Who We Never Were. You can get that on Bandcamp currently. It's off of their album Believes in You. You can get the 10-song LP is out May 5th, Friday, May 5th. You can actually order it on vinyl right now. So go show them some love. This episode is also brought to you by Paramount Pictures. Paramount Pictures is a legendary producer and global distributor of filmed entertainment since 1912. Paramount Pictures' library consists of more than 1,000 film titles with rights to an additional 2,500, featuring films by Hollywood's most respected filmmakers, including Martin Scorsese, J.J. Abrams, and Michael Bay, among others. Paramount Pictures' library consists of more than 1,000 films, including such classics as Star Trek, Godfather, and Indiana Jones franchises. Academy Award winners Braveheart, Forrest Gump, and Titanic, and current favorites such as the Mission Impossible and Transformers franchises. Paramount Pictures distributes its titles on DVD and Blu-ray through Paramount Home Entertainment. We are happy to have them. We fucking love Paramount Pictures.
podcast actually discusses movies. Be aware that it may discuss any of the following elements: endings, surprise twists, unexpected cameos, and all manner of spoilers. If this doesn't appeal to you, why listen to a movie podcast? Without further ado, please enjoy our feature presentation, The Shameless Picture Show.
Hey guys, it's Michael here. So I wanted to just jump on before we start this great episode with Blue Velvet, where I have Rose McNeill and Josephine Maria Yanasak-Leszczysnki. And as I said, we're talking about David Lynch's Blue Velvet. It's a great episode. You're going to love it. I love it. But I wanted to jump in and first say that, one, I wanted to apologize if there's any weird audio issues in this episode. Unfortunately, we do the best we can, but we did run into a couple little snafus with audio. So if conversations kind of just drop out throughout this conversation, I apologize. Once or twice, Amber did have to jump out of the conversation just because of Wi-Fi issues, because we do this show entirely online. So sometimes that happens. But I'm thinking it's not going to be too noticeable. It's not going to be too bad. I just wanted to mention it in case we are talking about something that just kind of abruptly ends and I couldn't quite make the edit work. So you didn't think we're just idiots and forgot what we're talking about, because that's not the case. But I am very proud of this episode. And I think everyone involved has a lot of really cool things to say. And while we do talk about this in the episode itself, I do want to give another shout out to Rose McNeill's upcoming Milwaukee Illuminate Film Festival. That this film festival is an inclusive event for all people from underrepresented and historically marginalized communities. This is the first year that Rose will be running this film festival, and I think it's really great. Josephine will be a judge on this. This is something that's new that's come out since this episode was recorded, and I will actually be the master of ceremonies at this event. This is really cool and something you should all be checking out. Rose has been doing a lot of great things with this film festival, and you won't want to miss that. So if you are in the Milwaukee area, keep your eye open for the Milwaukee Illuminate Film Festival. Okay, one last thing I wanted to mention before we head out, before we get to the conversation about Blue Velvet with Josephine and Rose, is I do want to mention that at the time of this recording, that the call for deadlines, the call for entries is officially closed. So if you want to submit your film to the Milwaukee Illuminate Film Festival, I do have some good news for you. I do have an extended deadline code that I am going to give to all of you. So if you'd like to still submit to the Milwaukee Illuminate Film Festival, you can do so by using the deadline code MKEMIFFLATEX24. So that's MKE MIF late X24. MKEMIFFLATEX24. And I will put that down in the description for everyone listening. So that comes directly from Rose. That is the extended deadline code. So you can still submit your film to the Milwaukee Illuminate Film Festival. Once again, MKEMIFFLATEX24. If you use that at checkout on Film Freeway, that will get you an extended deadline. It is also worth mentioning that as of the time that I'm recording this, there is a venue for the Milwaukee Illuminate Film Festival. It is at the Fitzgerald. So they are partnered with the Pabst Theater Group, and this will be at the Fitzgerald. And this will be Saturday, December 16th. And there will be an after party at This Is It. So you're going to definitely want to check this out. Also, please listen to the end of until the end of the podcast. I know normally we just have our outro or whatever, but I have put a new segment on this episode that you're not going to want to miss. Recently, I have partnered with Severin Films, and I have a new segment called It Came From Severin. I know it's a kind of a dumb title, but I will be reviewing from the Christopher Lee Eurocult collection. I will be talking about CRYPT of the Vampire, directed by Thomas Miller and Robert Spafford. So you're not going to want to miss that. So please listen to the end of the episode so you can hear me talk about CRYPT of the Vampire.
Hello
and welcome to another episode of The Shameless Picture Show. I am Michael Byers, and today I am joined by two very special guests. First off, you all should know her by now, as she's quickly becoming one of the most used co-hosts on this show. And I know y'all love her as much as I do. That's right. Today, I have my good friend Josephine Maria Yanasak-Leszczysnki.
Nailed it.
Yes. We got her back on the show, and not only, for those of you who might be new to the show, was she my Revenge Fest co-creator, but she's also one of my favorite voices in film culture today. However, she's not just an authority on film. She's also authority on many other different aspects of life, culture, and art. Since the last time we had her on our show, Josephine has now also contributed an essay to a new book on Susan Seidelman called Refocus, the Films of Susan Seidelman, which was edited by my friend and former film producer, Susan Kearns. While this book is currently available as a nice, big hardcover textbook, I've been told from a little birdie that a soft cover edition will be coming soon. And on top of that, because I forgot to write it in, she will also be on a panel that I'm moderating for the Twisted Dreams Film Festival about horror films and film criticism called Why So Crazy. But we're not alone. If any of you have been following the Milwaukee Short Film Festival, like I know you all have, I'm sure you saw the amazing panel I did called Ask a Film Festival Programmer. Well, I have one of those wonderful film festival programmers here today with me. Amber Rose McNeill is an Australian film director, intimacy coordinator, and programmer based in Wisconsin. As a queer, Jewish, bigender, neurodivergent artist, his work centers around challenging social attitudes toward normative sexuality and traditional gender roles, as well as critiquing the role of violence in film and media, which feels very appropriate for the topic later on. Amber cut his teeth programming for the Milwaukee Underground Film Festival in 2023 before developing the Milwaukee Illuminate Film Festival, which aims to specifically illuminate and elevate underrepresented voices in film and video. Welcome to the show, both of you.
Yay, thank you.
Thanks so much for having me.
Well, we will just do the best we can. We're having some tech issues. Josephine was having a fight club outside their window. A little bit of everything is going on today, but I'm happy to have you both here. Like this is kind of like a dream podcast of having two really interesting, fun guests talking about a really weird movie, which seems like the best way to go about doing this. And right now, Josephine, your track record for weird movies on this show with me is pretty great. And this is your second David Lynch.
Oh my God, it is. And this is David Lynch's Star Wars film. David Lynch gave up Star Wars to do Dune. And then if he had done Star Wars, he would have not made this film. So this is his Star Wars film. So Dune, and then this was like a natural successor.
I think that is the right choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this film because I first saw it for the first time when I was like between the ages of 4 and 6.
All right.
My memory is a little bit, here and there because I was so young. But strangely, I remember quite a lot about the film, and I feel like it did have some formative effects on me in a myriad of ways, from personality to human interaction to filmmaking.
No, that's a great. Well, then heck, and instead of just talking about whatever for a little while, I say we just jump right into it. So what I'm going to do is I wrote a little intro about the movie, and then we'll just jump right into it.
Sounds good.
So on today's episode of the Shameless Picture Show, we're discussing, we're actually crossing, sort of crossing a movie off my shame list. And let me explain. The film we're discussing today is one that I saw in chunks, really large chunks throughout high school, because IFC used to play it all the time. Back when IFC was cool and actually showed interesting movies and didn't have commercials.
Is that a cable channel? Sorry, I don't know what IFC is.
Yes, it was. It was an independent film channel.
Got it.
So I had seen good portions of this movie. Like I've seen the intro. I saw, a lot of stuff between Isabel Rossellini and Dennis Hopper. I pretty much saw everything up until the Pabst Blue Ribbon scene, but I never saw the rest of it until today. So today we're discussing David Lynch's haunting film, Blue Velvet. Jeffrey Beaumont is home from college and after visiting his father in the hospital, stumbles upon a severed human ear lying in the field near his house. Where did it come from? Jeffrey wants to know. After taking it to the local authorities, his curiosity takes over. Jeffrey then meets the lead detective's daughter, Sandy, who gives him a single clue that leads him down a terrifying path that exposes the dark underbelly of the quiet town he lives in, filled with deranged drug dealers, mysterious lounge singers, and David Lynch's brand of Americana surrealism. Blue Velvet was a gamble for David Lynch as he was coming off Dune, which was considered by critics to be considered by critics and the box office to be a flop. I don't necessarily agree, but that's what people thought. However, after The Elephant Man, Lynch still had a name in Hollywood and made a deal with the De Laurentiis Group to have creative control on his next film in exchange for a smaller salary and a smaller budget. However, being able to make Blue Velvet exactly as he wanted was important to Lynch, and the gamble paid off. The film had a series of successful film festival screenings, and while the critics were mixed, the critics who loved the film really loved Blue Velvet and were very vocal. And Lynch even walked away with an Oscar nomination for Best Director, while Dennis Hopper and Isabella Rossellini had been nominated for a Golden Globe and an Independent Spirit Award, respectively. Written and directed by David Lynch, with cinematography by Frederick Elms, music by Angelo Badalamenti, and editing by Dwayne Dunham, who also made Homeward Bound. Fun fact for you guys. The film stars Kyle MacLachlan, Isabella Rossellini, Dennis Hopper, Laura Dern, Dean Stockwell, and Jack Nance as Paul. From 1986, this is Blue Velvet.
A candy-colored clown they call the Sandman tiptoes to my room every night just to sprinkle stardust and to whisper, go to sleep, everything is all right. I close my eyes, then I drift away into the magic night. I softly say.
Now it's dark.
Are you the one that found the ear? One name that keeps coming up is this woman singer.
The first thing I need is to get into her apartment.
I don't know if you're a detective or a pervert.
Do you like the way I feel? I still can see blue velvet through my tears.
It's a strange world, isn't it?
I love your Jack Nance as Paul.
Well, I originally added that just because he has that one line, and I'm Paul.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that just cracked me up.
That's good.
It's interesting, or it feels a little bit, I mean, this feels full circle. As I mentioned, I watched this at a very, very young age. I probably shouldn't have. With my parents, I might add, not just like by myself, with my parents and my parents' friends in a share house lounge room in Surrey Hills, Sydney, Australia, which used to be a very punk area, if anyone is as old as the sea as I am. But I you mentioned the Independent Spirit Awards, and I've been a voting member on them for like 6 years now.
That's so cool.
So yeah, it feels like a couple of circles circling.
Closing
All right.
here, yeah.
So we got to hear Amber's a little bit of his history with Blue Velvet. Before I ask Josephine's history with this film, do you have anything else you wanted to add to? You seen it? What you said,
Tell
4
us
or
more.
5 years old?
When did you see it next, Amber? When did you see it when you could like understand more what was going on?
Yeah, so the first time I watched it, I think I was maybe in kindergarten or preschool. I can't remember. I was very young. I remember the house we were in, and I probably should have spoken to my mother to kind of like time date it better. But I was very young. I can't have been older than kindergarten. And I didn't watch it again. I mean, it kind of terrified me in some aspects, but then like also like really excited me and was an awakening for a lot of stuff that I wouldn't come to realize for many, many years. But I didn't watch it again until I was in my 30s living in LA. And I was like, I feel like I should watch this film again and see how much my like little baby eyes and kindergarten brain held on to, and it was actually quite a lot. I have a disturbingly good memory for certain things. Some things got a bit crisscrossed, but yeah, it wasn't until I was 30 something.
How about you, Josephine? What are your earliest memories? Well, it's a combination. Earliest memory and then strongest memory, because that's kind of the way you changed the question for Amber.
Yeah. Earliest, I saw it in high school. So that would have been the 2010 or 2000s, excuse me, the aughts. I don't remember. Like, I remember having seen it and just thinking it was like long and really boring, frankly. And we'll talk about this later, but I think it has to do with where I was the second time I saw that film, which was in college the first time. I went to a small college town every small town has a seedy underbelly, which I think Lynch taps into. He was, a military brat who moved around a lot of these smaller towns as a kid. And at least I think he was, if I'm remembering that correctly. I've not slept in a while. But anyway. But so when I went to college, I was from the city and I found myself suddenly kind of immersed in the bikers and the punks and the drug dealers in this small town. So it really connected to me a lot. I don't know. I had this friend in college who always did Dennis Hopper's monologue when he's on the lithium or whatever, or ethylene nitrate or whatever it is. Like he would just do that at parties, and then he would like pick up a banjo and play Wonderwall to some random girl at the party. It was like like this film. It was very bizarre. So I saw this act out in real time. It was great. And that was like so weird. I rewatched it last year and really enjoyed the movie. I think that I had to be I really disliked this movie for a long time. I think I had to be out of the experience of the film to really understand it. I mean, visually it's beautiful. It's a super well-made movie. I just hated every single character in it. And that doesn't mean that it's a bad film or that I automatically dislike films where I don't like characters, but I disliked the characters. It wasn't like, oh, this is such an interesting bad person or I relate to them. It was just I was like, I hate all these people. They're annoying. And it was probably because I knew every one of them when I was seeing it, personally. So now I really like it. It's, a very good representation of what he's trying to discuss with not suburbia, but small town. It's not like an off branch of a city. It is its own entity.
Wow. Now that's a hell of an, I just think it's you knew all these people. You had an interesting friend group.
I was posting about this earlier. I haven't slept very much and I did very little of the film research background I usually would for this. And so I was like, this is just going to be me telling stories about small town cocaine deals. That's what this podcast is going to be.
Hell yeah.
So welcome.
Well, I've often said that this show, if nothing, is at times we analyze the show, but half the time we just if there's a topic that can be found within the movie,
sure,
and we can relate it to personal experiences, that for me is far more interesting, especially when I, haven't done research. So, whatever happens. Tell us the cocaine stories.
I only have a couple. I don't mean to make it sound like I was I was hanging out with people who dealt. I never dealt, but it's, I mean, I don't know how far we want to get into it right now, but I just remember being at these parties with these guys who were total shitbags, right? In all the ways that Dennis Hopper is in this film. And everyone knew it, but we all hung out because it's a small town. That's who you have to hang out with. And I was a punk and I was playing punk music. And my best friend was a biker. And he was ostensibly a good dude, but you just end up with the strangest people. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Michael, tell your drug story.
My drug story.
Do you have a drug story? What story were you?
Well, I don't really have a drug story. No, I was just going to elaborate on all the time, the partial times that I've watched this movie, but never.
Oh, do that. I was tell us about the drugs, Mike.
I was
You
ready.
of all
I already told my drug story on the Cheech and Chong episode.
Oh.
You only have one. Wait, hang on a second. Sorry, I just need to clarify. You only have one drug story.
Well, not really. It's not really a drug story. It's more so on that episode. Since my mom very occasionally listens to the show, that I went really in depth about smoking pot, and she never knew about it. It's just smoking pot, so she never knew about it. So, it was like a big like apology to my mother type situation. But then we got really deep into mental health on that episode.
Yeah.
It was really strange.
Sorry, tell us about your experience with this film.
So when I saw this film freshman year of high school. Like I said, in pieces. I had never watched the entire thing, but funny enough, the stuff that I did see, I had a really strong memory of. I think at one point I was for sure that scene near the beginning of the film with Kyle MacLachlan walking through the field, and when he first discovers the ear, left an indelible mark on me because I was watching it one night and I fell asleep right when that scene was over. But just the idea of a person walking through a field and finding an ear, I was obsessed with. And funny enough, like at the time, this was the only anything I had ever seen of David Lynch went out at the time. So I didn't know that a whole running theme of his films was, the seedy underbelly of idyllic town type of thing. So like I saw the opening credits, I saw that. And then as an angsty teenager, wrote a shit ton of short stories about the seedy underbelly of a idyllic town, not even realizing that's his shit. And then I saw it I feel like every time I saw it, I just saw a little bit more of it. I'd see another scene of it. And the last scene I remember seeing before I hadn't seen it all the way through was Dennis Hopper's Pabst Blue Ribbon scene, and just the chaos of that. And then I never saw how the movie ended. And I had, for whatever reason, had so many opportunities to see it, and I just never. Like, it was almost like I was cherishing the memories I did have. Like, I don't know how this movie ends, and I don't know if I want to know how this movie ends, because everything that I built up in my mind was, I guess, so lovely, if that makes sense.
Sure.
But then there was things that were like upon this rewatch that I don't remember. Like, I remember Dennis Hopper and his "baby wants to fuck" speech, but I didn't remember the really awkward sex scene on the ground.
I mean,
so
it's not a sex scene.
No,
But
it's not a sex scene. I just didn't know what else to
rape
call
scene.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
She's being raped. Yeah.
That I either blocked that out, or the paid channel that I was watching it on did not include it. Which either one could be what happened. Because having finally seen that scene, just really fucked with me this most recent time, because I knew that character was vile, but having seen so many parts of the movie, but missing that little connective tissue, just really changed a lot.
Yeah, and I think that scene really sets up her and Kyle MacLachlan's relationship, or what was going on later. So like that is a very important, like it is actually, I've talked about before, I have a real issue with showing evil characters who rape somebody as a shorthand for bad. Like we can't show everything they do, but they rape somebody, they're bad, we're moving on, totally ignoring how, like, what rape does to somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
But this, I really think thematically is very important to every other psychological relationship in the movie, right? It like sets up and really establishes the tone, establishes Kyle MacLachlan, who himself was sexually assaulted by her right before that scene happens. So
yeah, and their scene when she brings him out of the closet and brandishes the knife at him is very similar to what Frank's doing to her. And until it plays out the way it does, you don't know why or how it's happening. It feels like it's very much a trying to have my own power.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily a fan of cishet male directors who use rape and sexual assault in their films as like plot points for the men, or as like tittillating, like, oh, it's yucky, but like we really have boners, right? Like this is all.
We're gonna see a naked body,
yeah. And so like there are a lot of films that like really bother me in the way that they deal with things like rape and sexual assault and trauma, particularly when it comes to femme trauma. And like rewatching this film today, I was like, oh, that's right, all this stuff happens, because I was kind of like going over the plot points just so that I didn't miss anything that maybe my child brain didn't remember, or I was probably very high in California. Speaking of pot, when I
don't know what that is, but keep talking.
When I watched it in California in my 30s, but I feel like Lynch, as well as the performers, captures very well the way that trauma, particularly from rape and being stuck in an abusive relationship where it's, you know, rape is a consistent and sexual violence is a consistent factor. I feel like he really does a good job, or a better job than I've seen most male directors, of expressing the trauma that Isabella Rossellini's character is going through before we even see what happens. Because usually in films it's like, oh, the bad thing happens and then we see the fallout, whereas you're seeing her trauma immediately, pretty much as soon as you meet her, and you can see elements of it when he's like pretending to like spray the house down for pests. But I was particularly drawn to this part, as well as the rape scene, which is not something you'll usually hear me say. Because of that, because the trauma it's not like over the top, even though the film has like melodramatic elements to it, it's not over the top. Parts of it are quite subtle, and because of that, they come across very authentic in the way that it kind of unfolds. So by the time we're seeing the rape scene, which is a very disturbing scene to watch, and I think that's what, you know,
it should be.
It should be. If you're going to show a rape scene, it shouldn't just like the camera pans to the side, or, you know, like, or it's glorified or it's fetishized, which happens pretty often.
Shot like a porn,
shot like porn. And this isn't. I mean, I think most of it's from like one camera angle, and it's like really fucked up and gross and icky. And I'm like, yeah, this is like, I know this sounds very strange, but like, if you're gonna be showing like the brutalization of another person, like, it should make you feel that way. It should be gross and icky and grimy and not overproduced and not shot from like 17 different stylistic angles. Like, and I just, even the way that her trauma continues to be expressed even towards the end of the film, I just think, you know, and not just Lynch, but like Lynch, Isabella Rossellini, Carl McLaughlin, Dennis Hopper, I think they all did an amazing job when it comes to a very difficult scene. And obviously this is my intimacy coordinator brain kicking in a little bit, but like a very difficult scene, and they respected the subject matter and the scene in a way that I can't speak for all survivors, but for me, like this is what those scenes should be. I mean, maybe not as like crazy as all the other Lynchian stuff going on, but like it just, that's something that definitely really impresses me about the film. One quick thing before I let somebody else speak. Sorry. The way that like after Jeffrey, sorry, I'm so bad. My ADHD does not allow me to remember character names very well. The way that I'll just use their actual names. The way that Carl McLaughlin witnesses things from the closet, and when Isabella Rossellini lets him out, the way that he like takes care of her, it's almost like, it reminded me a lot of Aftercare that you see in like, you know, really intense BDSM and stuff. But like, and that shot is just iconic with him cradling her head and, you know, the blue eyeshadow, and that's a whole nother thing. But I just, that beautiful moment there before they start their own kind of BDSM relationship, like just chef's kiss to all of that. So well done.
And something you mentioned that I hadn't processed, but you make a wonderful point with Amber, is when you said that David Lynch shows Isabella Rossellini's trauma before Frank is even introduced to this film.
Yeah.
And I think that is probably this is a very hard scene to watch. And what's interesting, I was trying to dissect it just now, because you're right. It is just one camera angle. It's pretty much from the perspective of Kyle MacLachlan from the closet.
From the closet, yeah.
And please correct me if I'm wrong, because I was kind of looking away through good portions of that scene. I don't believe there's really much, if any, nudity shown, but it's still a very graphic scene. You know, I have seen far more graphic scenes in terms of sexual violence or nudity in movies, but they haven't affected me in the way that this one did. Well, they did, but in a different way that this one affected me. And I think it's because of what you touched on before, is seeing the trauma that she already has before his character even enters the movie. And just this, you know, the second that she even hears his voice, everything changes for her. And I think that might be why it is so hard.
I also, I want to, touch also on that, the exhilarating rape scene, right? Mike and I were talking about the Western genre on the break. And when I think of like how rape scenes are traditionally portrayed, a lot of the imagery comes from that genre, and it's the bodice being ripped off, right? And you have the tits falling out, and like this very passionate moment that, you know, maybe turns into lovemaking, but starts very violently. And I think that translates into a lot of the way that rape is portrayed. Thinking about like Game of Thrones, you know, very titillating. One thing that I also want to bring up, so David Lynch for me is a very difficult director. I think this is an example of a film where the end product is so beautiful and expressive and brings you on this fantastic character journey for every character involved. But reading about the production of the film was alarming to me. And I think demonstrated to me how much Isabella Rossellini and Dennis Hopper and Kyle MacLachlan in a way contributed to that scene, because the anecdote from that scene is that David Lynch would not stop laughing during the whole scene. And that could have been he was uncomfortable, but I also I'm so fed up with white cis het men, comfortable and you know what I mean? Like, I don't care if you're uncomfortable, like shut up, your mouth, duct tape it, whatever. But he apparently was laughing through the whole scene, and he kept telling Isabella Rossellini that, oh, it's because it just looks ridiculous. It's going to look great, but it looks ridiculous because, you know, they're overacting. But so whenever she would rewatch that scene, she couldn't stop laughing. But when it was being filmed, she was really distressed. She was really frustrated with them. It was a very frustrating experience for her. And I think Dennis Hopper is an actor who he's a fantastic actor. He's done lots of roles across the spectrum, but definitely as bad guys. You know, like he's very good at it. And he's very good at getting to that headspace and still respecting his scene partner. Right. And to me, like that, the whole character arc that we're seeing, I have a lot of issues with David Lynch's work. I think he does some things very well, but I also think he picks actors super well. And I think so much, like his little stable of actors are so curated and are so good at working together and kind of managing him in some ways, that I really want to give credit also to the actors and not just, you know, David Lynch. Because I think that he in many ways is a fantastic director, is fantastic at picking characters, but I don't think he's always able to like bring a subject matter home by himself. Like he needs someone else to do it.
For sure. I mean, thank you for bringing that up, because I had absolutely no idea. I've never really read anything about the production notes, and that definitely casts a different light on things. And you're right, like there are a lot of reasons people can laugh, but like when you're the director and it's a really difficult scene, laughing is not what you should be doing. So extra.
I'm guessing as an intimacy coordinator, that would not have
I would have been like, you can shut the fuck up or get the fuck out of here. Like, and you're not needed for this scene, to be honest. But,
please continue.
Oh, I was just going to say that highlights the importance of, like, a lot of people don't know what intimacy coordinators do, or if they hear the term, they're like, oh, you just deal with sex scenes. And it's like, well, it's birth scenes, it's breastfeeding scenes, it's hospital scenes, it's bath scenes, it's shower scenes. It's, I have a specific interest in pushing this profession to dealing, being around and choreographing and, all the things intimacy coordinators do for scenes that have domestic violence or intimate partner violence, because those are intimate scenes. They're just not always sexual in nature. And I think that that's a place that we really should be. So, and I haven't seen any other intimacy coordinators specialize in that. So that's kind of like, where I'm kind of jimmying myself in, so to speak, in the intimacy coordination world. But intimacy coordination and intimacy coordinators, I don't even think existed back then, but he sure could have used one by the sounds of it, because that just would not fly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what's kind of frustrates me about that story that you tell, Josephine, is thinking from the perspective of, as a filmmaker, David Lynch wrote this scene.
Sure did.
And yet he's going to claim that it makes him uncomfortable to see it play out. And, the style of acting that a lot of actors have in a David Lynch film is very indicative of his style. Like he it's the best way I can say it. People make certain choices in a David Lynch film because it's probably the direction he's giving them. So what frustrates me is it's supposedly making him uncomfortable, yet he wrote the scene. He gave the actors the direction.
Yeah.
And I can't quite put into words where I'm trying to go with it, but I don't know.
There's like a lack of ownership. It's like, this is happening to him, but he's literally the director. Like, no, you're directing this. That's, did you know about the helium as well?
No, I actually had no idea. I was going to ask what he
David
was specifically.
Lynch. Hi, man. I don't know anything about David Lynch's, interactions with drug use. Dennis Hopper is a seasoned, he's a disco. He's a seasoned drug user.
Well documented.
My boy.
Yeah, that's our boy. But David Lynch, he doesn't strike me as a heavy drug user. I don't know. You never know. But he wanted the propane tank to have helium in it, and Dennis Hopper was like, no, let's try this. So Dennis Hopper is the one who recommended something different, and to script it as something different, because I guess he was huffing something during that, at least one of the shots. But afterwards, David Lynch was like, oh yeah, I guess that was a good idea, because it would have kind of had a comedic effect if he had spoken after huffing the helium. And I was like, what? what are you doing? What is it going on in your brain that you thought helium would be an appropriate, thing in this scene? Really strange. He just, just wanted a propane tank and couldn't think of anything else to put in it. Just really strange. Or whatever. I guess it's not a propane tank because there's no propane in it, but the metal tank.
The tank, yeah. I always just assumed it was oxygen. I thought.
I thought he was getting an oxygen.
I guess it's getting oxygen.
I want to say it's ethyl nitrate. I'm gonna Google that.
It's interesting hearing these stories of David Lynch throwing out just really ideas that just truly don't work. Because don't get me wrong, there's a lot like you said, Josephine. There's a lot of things that David Lynch does really well. But he's kind of held up in this certain light of especially because he notoriously won't explain his methodology and everything. It just really kind of feels like and maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like a filmmaker who surrounds himself with really talented people.
Yes.
And we should give some credit to Pamela Guest, Joanna Ray, and Pat Golden, who cast this film and cast most of his stuff. Who find these actors. I feel like he has all these talented people around him catching him when things aren't quite working. His good ideas are working, but he has enough people around him being like, yeah, that's not going to work. Let's try this instead.
Definitely. I also fact check. Ethyl nitrate is like an acid, so that's not what he's huffing. It's amyl nitrate, which is a precursor to poppers. It was a disco drug. It was an angina medication that was used recreationally inhaled. So we're talking. So that's our little LGBTQI plus.
Thank you. I am very familiar with that. substance. No longer do I partake, but I had, and never in large quantities through an oxygen mask.
Why not?
But
I'm really glad that David Lynch made like a movie so that we know not to do that. Like, I wouldn't have known not to do that had he not made this, like, you know, this movie telling me. Educational.
I just love that Dennis Hopper's the one who suggested it. It's like, you would know about that.
That was my disco dude. Dennis Hopper.
He's like, I'm not doing poppers all the way through this film through an oxygen mask. That will literally fry my brain or make my heart explode. No. I mean, good call.
Incredible.
Because it would have been a very different movie had he actually been huffing poppers through the whole thing. Don't do poppers, kids. They're very, very bad for you.
Yeah.
If any children are listening to this show.
Oh my God, I have a friend who visits me. I'm the like the lesbian guest of all my gay male friends. Somehow, like, I'm the femme non-binary like guest they bring along to their like all of their kink events and like their club events, even though it's just a bunch of dudes who are not into me and I'm not into them. But the way they give out poppers, like, oh my God, I feel so old. But I'm always like, guys, like, boys, like, please stop doing these. Stop taking poppers from these strange people. Like, this is insane. Like, we were walking around International Mr. Leather down in Chicago. And there's just a table set up and they're like, do you guys want to sample some poppers? And I'm like, it's 10 a.m. I'm like wearing, you know, everyone around me is wearing a harness and no pants. Like, you want me to start doing recreational drugs right now? Like, in this hotel downtown, like 3 blocks from my work. I did not partake, but Jesus. It's 10 a.m.
I mean, I have to say it's probably the gay man in me that, like, anytime somebody offers me poppers, ever somebody I know, I'm always like, sure.
Oh my God.
I'm just like, yes, of course. Thank you so much for thinking of me.
It's like, it's so generous, but
it's like they've offered me a scone and a cup of tea. I'm like, oh, thank you.
Just a little pick me up in the afternoon.
I have to say, Josephine, that story is such a fun bookend to the story you told on the Spice World episode about you being the elder punk watching out for the kids at the show.
Oh my God, I am such an old auntie. My little brother calls me Nanti, which is like cute, but I'm not sure I love it yet. But you know, I'm auntie right now, and I like, God, anytime I'm like, I can't go to the club anymore because I'm like, babies, like, get away from that man. Don't take those strange drugs. You can have some of my marijuana. Get away from them.
I aspire to be in my auntie stage, but I'm still definitely in my naughty daddy stage.
That's a good place to be. I feel like that stage for me was so brief. It was you had a blink of an eye, and then I had actual like nieces and nephews, and something changes in you when children enter your life. It's real.
Yeah, I don't surround myself by human children, so I think that has allowed me to continue or kindle. But yeah, no, I mean, like, I am nurturing and do try and look after the younger folk. But
certainly,
I mean,
you can be fun about it.
At the end of the day, I'm daddy, and there's just not much we can do about it.
It's good to know yourself. I'm really proud of you.
Thank you.
This is the dynamic I was like hoping for when I had both of you on the show. It's like, this is going to be.
You just had to bring up poppers. Oh no, I did that. Oh wait.
Yeah, I didn't bring them up. You did.
Just talking about poppers
because we were trying to dissect what was going on with the
mom. I don't even know what those are. I don't know.
I wish I didn't know. I think I've killed a lot of brains.
Cool. So we agree that this is like the LGBTQIA plus champion film that we needed in the 80s about disco drugs.
I mean, as I said, like very briefly during the intro, like this was a very formative film for me. I think watching Carl McLaughlin's bum is like my is it the Thrill House moment?
That could be your Thrill House moment.
Is that what did it to you? That was it? Like that was
I mean, I have a few, but that is probably the main one. But I also used to get it confused with another film called Z and Two Noughts. Where
yes. Oh my God. That movie is nuts.
There's a lot of 80s male bum that looks very similar. And yeah, I watched that movie again and again and again and again, unlike the long hiatus I had with Blue Velvet. But yeah, Kyle MacLachlan's Bum, and just like male nudity in that kind of context, which was different from what I'd seen before.
Sure.
It definitely awakened some things in me, because I was like, well, I know I'm not straight for sure, the way I am like consuming this that sounds wrong, consuming this grown man's bottom. That's not what I meant. But through the medium of cinema,
it could be what you meant. It's okay.
This scene, but yeah.
Space.
When I think back to it, I'm really like, yeah, I think that's probably the first moment that I realized, without really having a larger context, that I was both trans and very, very gay. So yeah, I'd like to thank Kyle MacLachlan's Bum for that.
Can I keep talking about asses, like male asses, really quick?
Go for it.
And like having an awakening.
This show is all about tangents. Go for it.
I thought you were gonna be like, this show is all about ass. Like, we're just,
it is now.
Butts.
I don't know. I took over the show. It's my show now. It can be whatever I want it to be.
Nice. Okay, so yeah, gender a spectrum, right? Like sexuality a spectrum. We're constantly exploring and discovering things about ourselves. I am 33, and at 33 years old, I had another sexual awakening, and it was to the film Dao, the Blade, by Sui Hark, who did Once Upon a Time in China. That film opens with this young girl teasing these two guys she's into fighting with each other. And then they get into a fight. They strip down, because that's what happens when you get into a fight with your bro, with your broski. And then they take a bath together. And then all the men in her father's sword shop start bathing. And it's just like 30 naked men on the screen. And she's like peeking, at them through this chink in the wall. And that film, like, I'm sitting after work on like a Wednesday night in a full theater watching what I thought was going to be like a wuxia movie. And it was just like the horniest, like most homosexual experience I've ever had. And I don't know what I discovered about myself, but like things like changed in me. It was incredible. Okay. Like I don't know. It's an incredible movie. I think it's deeply misogynistic, and I like don't hate it for it. Like, it was a really interesting way to do it. And there's definitely like lesbian subtext, like there's all this shit going on, but like male nudity, we did not get enough of it as young people. Like, it was not a thing in American cinema. It was not really sexualized like nearly enough. And even when they would try to throw us a little bone, like I keep bringing up Game of Thrones just because I hate that series, and I've seen all of it multiple times. But like, when like you see the dick for like a moment, and everyone was like, "Oh, they showed you dick," and it's like it wasn't even sexualized. Like, I wasn't turned on by the dick. Like, I've seen lots of titties at this point and some butt, but not in like a way that's actually attractive. Like,
it was no context dick, which also really irritates me. I need context.
The context. I need the storyline. I need to know where the dick came from, what its goals are.
Where it's going.
Yes.
I need some cock context, definitely.
That's a new podcast title.
Cock context.
Done. Thank you, Amber Rose.
You are more welcome.
The Dubro podcast has now changed to cock context.
We have to keep like changing the name at the top.
It's gonna keep scratching it out.
I was gonna that sounds like an amazing film, which I have not seen, but I will definitely.
It's incredible. It's rare, but I think you can I'm sure there's some shady corner of the internet you can find it. So.
I might be able to find it.
Oh.
Cool. Well,
continue.
Let me know when somebody finds it, and I will be all over that. But I had a similar yet different experience to William Friedkin's. I never pronounce his last name. Cruising, which is another problematic film.
Yes. Friedkin's, I think.
Friedkin.
There's not really any dick in it, but just like the level of like sweaty, like.
It's so sweaty. It's probably the sweatiest movie I've seen.
Oh my God. I watched that as a teenager, and that was like another awakening. And now I know it's a problematic film, but I watch it because I'm like, even though I can date men as a trans man, as a bi-gender person, and there are surprisingly a lot of gay men who are totally cool with that, which I thought would never be, but I would put on, when I was feeling particularly depressed, I would put on Cruising and just kind of like imagine that I was there, like, you know, in those leather clubs, like in a mask body. And I don't get a lot of gender dysphoria. Like, I'm pretty happy in a femme body for the most part, like as an adult, but like, just like I would be sad, but like excited, but just know that I could never really experience that in that way. And that's why that film is still like, kind of makes my heart flutter a little bit, even though I know that it is problematic for a number of reasons, but just like getting to experience that like underground leather daddy club is just,
You're gonna love The Blade. You're gonna love it.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Sweaty masses of men with tattoos.
Oh,
I mean, there's like a lot of other stuff going on in that movie, but like, let's be real. Like,
I think you've mentioned the most important part.
yeah, and it happens within the first 5 minutes, and that's like all I want from a film. It's like everyone should be not straight. Like everyone should be like way homo, and then also, I need male nudity within 5 minutes of it starting, or I'm turning it off. Like that's it.
Agreed. Sorry. Could I just can I
Please.
add one more?
Of course.
Context.
This is what the show is.
Everyone's gonna turn this on to hear about some Lynchian nonsense, and we'll be like, male nudity.
Oh, don't worry. I have a Lynch follow-up question after this, but I want to hear.
Okay.
I want
All
to
right,
hear.
Amber Rose, lay it on us.
Go for it.
Fantastic. And this is not like an overtly queer piece of cinema, and it is television. I don't know if anyone's seen Swarm. It's like a short series. I believe it's on Amazon.
I just started watching it.
Yeah, I think Donald Glover.
Donald Glover, yeah, it's his show.
I watched.
I heard about this. Yes,
I watched a little while ago, and it's not overtly queer, but there are definitely some like hardcore lesbian vibes throughout it, which I also very much appreciate as a bi-gender gay person. I'm more in touch with my gay mask side than my sapphic side, but that is still there. And yeah, there were a lot of interesting lesbian undertones that are quite different from like movies and shows that are specifically about lesbians or have like lesbian characters. I don't want to spoil it for you if you are intending to watch it, but yeah, just the relationships between women, whether they are like long-standing relationships or new relationships. There's a lot of lesbian undertones in very interesting and different ways, because the premise of the show is pretty gritty and murder-ridden to begin with. And I do love a film, show, movie, performance art that like femmes are killing men.
Don't we all?
Kind of my jam. Yeah. Not, you know, like fake killing them in the sense of a performance art piece. I don't mean actually.
Well, you said TV.
I wouldn't.
I think it's implied.
Yeah, I wouldn't have caveated that, but that's fine. That's fine.
But yeah, there's this one scene with one of the younger McCulkins. I can't remember his name. He's kind of like,
I think that one's Kiernan.
Yeah, Kiernan McCulkin. And suddenly there's just like a bowl of strawberries. And
I remember this scene.
Yeah, there's a bowl of strawberries, and Kieran McCulkin's dick just like flaccid dick pressed up against
and it's
the bowl.
A see-through bowl as well.
Yeah, a glass bowl.
This is amazing.
And I took so many, like, it's just like, I mean, there is a little bit of context to the cock, but not enough. It's just suddenly there, but not in a Game of Thrones way, like, oh, we're trying to be equal, here's a dick for you. Yeah, I took so many photos of it because I'm going to repurpose it into a 16mm film with some other
incredible
other fun stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's a very strange and striking image, but yeah, just like it's a weird mix of like full on like dick, but a lot of like sapphic undertones to the show. Interesting show.
I wanted to mention it's Donald Glover, and then Janine Neighbors is the co-creator.
Yes.
So yeah, there is. I believe she is a sapphic. She's definitely a femme.
Yes.
Perfect.
So that's there for sure.
Well, one thing I wanted to ask, Amber, you had mentioned that Blue Velvet for you was a formative movie. I was hoping you could explain that a little bit more. Besides Kyle MacLachlan's butt, what about this film? What about this film stuck with you, especially at a young age where you have such a vivid memory of it, and it stuck with you, and you kept coming back with it, or back to it, I should say. What about this film kind of wormed its way into your brain?
Like from not so much like a personal lens, but from a cinematic lens or an artistic lens or an aesthetic lens, one of the first shots with the red roses and the white picket fence and a blue sky,
iconic,
is something that, I mean, obviously my name is Rose, but like that image has stuck with me a long time, and it is exactly how I remembered it from when I was like a wee little tyke. But the transition from that to the watering of the garden, I still have like a really weird, not full-on phobia, but like uncomfortability around kinked hoses. I really don't like them, and I think it stems from the scene because he's having a heart attack. He's having a heart attack, right? That's what
I believe
happens.
so.
Yeah, when he falls over.
Yeah, but the hose is all kinked, and that as a kid, I thought that the hose took his ear off, and that's how the ear.
Oh yeah,
that
logic.
Yeah, and then he's in the hospital, and I thought he was the one that lost the ear. So like,
Totally.
so obviously, like I wasn't great at connecting all.
I mean, you were a child. Like that is literally the sequence of events in the films. Like I feel like that was a very
like in terms of like, you know, the theory of montage editing, that makes the most sense.
Yeah, I think I kind of blocked out the bugs and stuff under the ground, but like I think that's the part where I got.
Do you remember the puppy drinking the water?
Yes, out of the hose. It's very phallic. Very phallic. I didn't pick up on that as a kid, but I definitely did as an adult. I was like, ooh, hello.
I love that you brought up those roses because rewatching this, I couldn't stop thinking about American Beauty, that film, and there's no way that film isn't referencing Blue Velvet.
Oh, yeah,
immensely.
It has to be.
And I really dislike that movie in so many ways, but it was the Blue Velvet of that next gen, I think, but toned down because we lost some of our edge. But anyway, as an American film culture.
Yeah, which is definitely sad. But yeah, I also like the way that it bookends with that at the end, but we get like a kind of, before we get those red roses and the white picket fence, we get like the yellow tulips as well.
Yes.
And I think because like rose has always been my flower, tulips have always been my mom's flower. So I think because I watched this with my mom and her and my dad and their friends, like those stuck in my head. And I think also because I was a kid, those shots are very easy to replicate in like drawings or just like imagining in your mind. So yeah, though, I don't know. I'm not sure how formative those were, but they're definitely shots that like stick in my mind. And I'm kind of a bit of a fan of like bookending to a certain extent in my own filmmaking. And I think maybe that has something to do with it, because I just think that's a really nice bookend that's not like totally the same, but it is still a bookend of sorts with that, going back to that same shot, which I think is quite iconic. And as Josephine said, has, you know, like inspired shots in other films, you know, like likely American Beauty and a whole bunch of other films as well.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned tulips, because I was thinking about sinister tulips in Lynch's films. A very important scene to me as a young person was David Lynch's Dune, when the Baron Harkonnen, the AIDS stand-in Harkonnen that Lynch invented, is like killing and sexually assaulting one of his, servants or whatever, and like ripping out the blood plug, and he's on top of these purple tulips. And like that totally connected for me to this film. Like, what is it with David Lynch and tulips? Like, what does he have against them? What did they do to him? Something very deep and very sinister. I
don't know, but that's another scene that is like, that I watched way too young, that is burned a memory, the plug coming out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dune is a film that like I didn't, Blue Velvet is not one that I watched young enough to where it like stuck with me, but Dune stuck with me. I watched it very young, and like that scene in particular was so uncomfortable for me and exciting as a kid, right? Because like the idea of like this passion was very attractive to me as a child before I knew what was going on. But then also it's a terrifying scene. Like there's nothing about it that's like, you know, it's not supposed to be sexy or anything. It's very horrifying. But I also think, you know, part of this movie, David Lynch has a really weird thing about homosexuality. Not good with it. I mean, you know, we get some trans characters in some of his work that, you know, are better than other things of the era, and some other like couples and things like that. But, you know, Dune had a guy who he gave the visual symptoms of AIDS, HIV/AIDS, and as a very negative, evil person. And that's like really fucked up. And then I do think that part of the terror and the current of like what is threatening this very idyllic small town in Blue Velvet, part of it is homosexuality, right? It's queerness. It's this very macho Dennis Hopper forcing a very clean-cut college boy to drink a beer. You know, like that's a very gay panic scene to me. Especially, and I was telling Mike before we started, I have a picture of Ronald Reagan on my computer right now to remind me what era we're in, which is we're under Reaganism. And especially under Reaganism, it's like the, you know, the AIDS crisis is hitting or about to hit. And that was from drugs, but also from gay sex under Reaganism. Like that, those are the only two ways that we talk about it, but from gay drugs. And I think that is a threat that David Lynch portrays a lot. So
it's interesting. And since I watched the movie, I've been trying to put together the way that beer is represented in this film, because first I jokingly said that like Heineken must have sponsored this film, but like this movie's not big enough for Heineken to give a fuck. And I just kept trying to put together like Kyle MacLachlan's just kind of obsession with Heineken and how much he talks about it in that one scene, and then the way that Dennis Hopper's character just kind of shuts it down. And I never once considered it being what you were saying about you know, essentially trying to butch him up, like, you know, drink a manly beer, and there was that, but I was not thinking about the extra context behind it. You know, this fear almost.
Is Blue Velvet in the Midwest? Do we know where? Was this supposed to be California, the Midwest? Do we remember?
I feel like it's
North Carolina.
Okay. Well, that's totally, I don't know. Because in the Midwest, like beer culture is obviously a whole thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you know, Milwaukeeans here in one form or another. Like, you know, PBR is a way of life, a culture. I can't drink beer, and it's, you know, it's part of me. But so that, like, to me felt very Midwestern, and like your dad saying
a lot
like,
of this movie felt kind of Midwestern.
You got to have a Budweiser, like you can't drink that sissy beer, you know, like, but it's, I mean, David Lynch, as much as he moved around, is very Midwestern. Like I would say, like he's a very Midwestern director. Like he grew up mostly in the Midwest and then ended up in LA, you know, and did embrace that. But I would say, you know, and hearing him talk, it's Midwesterner. The weather today.
It's interesting that you bring up the way that he brings, I mean, essentially gay panic into his film, and like AIDS panic into his film work. I haven't seen June in a really long time, so I can't remember that stuff specifically. But I guess I always like, and this is just coming from like my lens and my brain, and not like David Lynch is somebody I never really did a lot of research or digging into, because I was like, I don't know if I want to find all the grimy bits about him unless he's done something really horrible. I think I just want to like, and he never really like talks about his work anyway, so it's just kind of like whatever. But yeah, like in a lot of his, like even in Twin Peaks, there are these quite intimate and close relationships between like masculine straight male characters that like definitely have like, or at least to me, I interpret it as queer coding, and I always thought that there was like maybe some part of Lynch where he was like jealous or like kind of like wished he could be gay, or was like exploring his feelings around homosexuality, particularly as it pertains to like mask homosexuality. And I mean, maybe that's where the like fear and all of that stuff comes in. And I'm not saying that makes it okay, or
of course not, no,
excuses it. I just always kind of, I don't know, I just always kind of thought like maybe he wanted to be a little bit gay or something, or he was a bit jealous or something. Because like even as a kid, like watching Twin Peaks when it first aired, I was a little bit older, but like I mean, like I fully knew who gay people were by that stage, and definitely realized that I had an attraction to masc and femme people by then. But yeah, like I picked up a lot of what I perceived or maybe wanted to be queer coding, particularly in Twin Peaks, and going back and watching Blue Velvet. Particularly, even though it is an aggressive scene, when Hopper like puts on the lipstick and like kisses Kyle MacLachlan, he's like, I'll send you a love letter, and it's kind of like this intimacy, but then this aggression and this like back and forth in that scene. Yeah, like I mean, I know it's aggressive, but I just felt like I was getting other things from that scene as well. Sure. Yeah.
I love that. No, and I think that these things can be presented without necessarily being good or bad, right? Sometimes like, and Lynch is clearly exploring something, like something is going on from whatever lens he's doing it. I was thinking about, as you're talking, from the other direction. So I grew up with I was very lucky. I had a lot of gay role models growing up. I grew up in a very liberal religious situation. I grew up non-denominational Quaker, so like not Christian, but Quaker. And I knew like a lot of lesbian couples, a lot of gay male couples who had been together for 20, 30 years. But I grew up completely separated from like the AIDS epidemic, which was still ongoing when I was a young kid. Not that it ended, you know, it's still ongoing in other parts of the world, but like I was totally separated from all of the stuff that would create the fear around being like, you know, gay or whatever. So when I started going to school, and aside from just like the societal stuff, like I know a lot of older gay elders now who did not explore it when they were younger because they were terrified of getting HIV, AIDS and dying, right? Like, or getting another disease or whatever, or being killed by gay bashers, you know, like that was all very real. And I was totally separated from that. I didn't learn about any of that because I was in this very kind of bubble of like liberalism, this very safe liberalism. And so when I went to school and started like hearing slurs and learning that like, and people, you know, started accusing me of being a lesbian in like middle school and high school, they were right. But, you know, I wasn't being creepy. They were just uncomfortable with their sexuality or their bodies or whatever. But you know, it's like coming at from another direction. It was so alien to me that people would be so scared and like would interpret things this way, that it's interesting to see someone from the other side, I guess, from like Lynch probably growing up, knowing all the very negative possibilities, like processing that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I grew up in Sydney through the 80s, through most of the 80s. I was a kid in Sydney, Australia, which was like considered I'm using quotes, slum at the time.
Yeah.
Full of punks and queers and people, like it was a very multicultural area because Australia still has problems with racism, but like Australia was pretty racist back then. Mm-hmm. And so like I grew up in a very liberal environment, but like, you know, like I knew people who died due to AIDS. I knew people who died from drug overdoses, and I knew people who, it was called poofta bashing, probably still is in some circles, but it was very common. And so like, you know, a lot of my mom's friends and friends of friends, like there was a real fear. And I think because I didn't have the language or the, you know, like other people to look at back in the 80s, even though I was around a lot of queer people and definitely trans people. You know, when I came out as bigender a few years ago, I didn't even have a word for it in English. I made one up in Yiddish because I was like, I know what I feel, but I can't find a word for it. But like, yeah, I mean, those things definitely impacted me in ways that I probably haven't even fully started to dig into, as well as all the media. Like, I can't remember how I came across it, but I must have been looking for something, and there was this like AIDS commercial on television, like on broadcast TV at the movies, that was like the Grim Reaper just like bowling down people. It was really, it was really terrifying. And so growing up in that atmosphere where like it wasn't, there were a lot of gay people around, but it wasn't safe to be gay. I think it had only just been legalized, or was being legalized, when I was really little. And, you know, like the fear of AIDS was a very real thing, but there are definitely people who pushed it, like that ad. And I can't even remember the context of that ad, but it was not, it wasn't to help people. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's definitely that is a different world.
Yeah,
as you said.
Certainly.
One thing I've been thinking about since I watched this movie was David Lynch has said this multiple times, but that, you know, there's certain films within his oeuvre that are more autobiographical than others. And he said this is one of them, because there's, you know, he came up with the, you know, he used to have a big field like this behind one of the homes he lived in growing up, and the idea of an ear or some, you know, something you're not supposed to find showing up just fascinated him. And, you know, he grew up in a lot of neighborhoods like this. And then one thing I've been thinking about is, so at the time, and I did a little bit of research while we've been talking, at the time, and I think this movie came out in 1985, David Lynch had been remarried twice. And the only reason I mention that is because I've been thinking about the Kyle MacLachlan character in this film, and this idea of loss of innocence or discovering of self. You know, this, I think, I believe Dennis Hopper's character says to him at one time, it makes some comment that that Kyle MacLachlan reminds him of himself, or some line like that. And obviously Kyle MacLachlan has this tryst going on with Isabel Rossellini, and then he's also got this thing going on with Laura Dern. And then from what I've read too, that the original cut of this movie was like 4 hours long, and Kyle MacLachlan's character also had a college sweetheart that was cut completely out of this film. And I can't help but, and you know, because later on in the film, Kyle MacLachlan is having these nightmares that are kind of intercut with his relationship with Isabella Rossellini that are causing him to kind of freak out, and I imagine trying to figure out who he was or who he is. And I've been thinking about this, and I don't really quite know where I'm going with this, this idea of autobiographical elements of this guy who finds different things out of all these different people, and kind of uses them for what they need to. Because, you know, if you look at David Lynch's love life, he has been with many, many people, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm also wondering too, if he's trying to figure out something about himself in this film and trying to figure out who he potentially is, because that's kind of what, you know, at this point in his life, I imagine he's a younger man trying to figure out what he wants or what he's doing, who he is. And I can't stop viewing Kyle MacLachlan as a conduit for who David Lynch potentially saw himself as, which is interesting too, because Kyle MacLachlan plays, you know, he's usually the shining example of wide-eyed innocence until he's not, or, you know, or if he continues to be, you know, he's the one kind of discovering these darker things in this world. You know, you have this wide-eyed, this kid who can't leave well enough alone and decides to delve himself deeper and deeper into this seedy world that he probably shouldn't be. That even his old grandmother tell him not to go near Lincoln Street, and that's of course where the fuck he goes. So I don't really quite know where I'm going with this, but it's a thought I've been working out since I've watched the film and trying to kind of put together the arc of Kyle MacLachlan and what David Lynch might be trying to say about the world himself or people viewed through that lens. Because while you have, you know, someone like Frank Booth, who is kind of the personification of pure evil, Kyle MacLachlan's not the personification of pure good.
No.
You know, it's like you don't really have that opposite side of the coin. Not that you necessarily need it, but I don't know. Just kind of working through some thoughts here.
Yeah, thinking about having seen it in college, I had a very negative reaction to Kyle MacLachlan's character in this film because he is a cheater. He has no fidelity. And when I'm watching it as an older queer person who's, you know, been in polyamorous relationships, been in monogamish relationships, like, et cetera, like, I was reacting to this idea that was pushed on us, I think 80s through 90s through 2000s, that when you're in college, you find your partner and then you marry them and then you buy a house and then you have kids. And like, that's how it's supposed to go. And Kyle MacLachlan was supposed to find a girl and fall in love with her. And that girl was Laura Dern, like, obviously. And he's clearly chafing against that. And I'm sure David Lynch chafed against that. But he is the age where he is. And for me, viewing him as this like traditional cinema hero at that age, when I was 21, 22, he was supposed to find the girl, marry her, fall in love, and they were, you know, that was supposed to be it. But instead, he's like screwing around all over. And you could easily read this movie as polyamorous, like as a, you know, as fucked up as it is. Laura Dern clearly like knows what's going on, like, you know, not that she's like totally cool with it, because like all of it is incredibly fucked up. And if like that were my partner, I'd be like, you're in a really unhealthy relationship with your partner, and I know I can't tell you what to do, but like, please stop, please, for all of us. But you know, it's like, I do think that this film is partially chafing against, not to make it like super gay again, you know, traditional monogamous heterosexuality. Like, yeah. And I don't think he's exploring that, and it doesn't, I'm not sure there's any conclusions drawn because everyone in the film is so messed up. Mm-hmm. Even beautiful, perfect Laura Dern is, you know, buying into some very fucked up shit. And she clearly is used to, you know, cutting around her dad, right? Like, she knows what's up. And
then she has her own romantic tryst too. She has her own like romance going on when she meets Kyle MacLachlan, and she does everything she can for them never to meet each other.
Oh, right. I forgot about that. Yeah. She's perfect though. She didn't do anything wrong. So.
As I was listening to both of you talk, I just kept thinking that like, this is in a weird way a coming of age story. Mm. And it's not promoted as that. And I don't think I've ever like overtly thought about it like that. But I think that's one of the reasons that it was so appealing to me as a young child. And you must remember, I grew up around like punks and in share households and like a very different like young child lifestyle, and like going and standing outside bars for like punk shows and stuff. Like I lived in a very different world to like most 5-year-olds. So like, I think my brain was ticking a bit further along than maybe your average 5-year-old. But I think maybe that's one of the reasons that I was very drawn to this film, and I've always kind of held it like pretty close to me, despite not going back to watch it for like 30 years or however long it was. But because it is sort of a coming of age film, and I think particularly through an Australian lens, where like one thing I've noticed about American cinema, and it's not all of American cinema, but kind of like mainstream or towards the mainstream, is that like there has to be like good and evil.
Absolutely.
And, you know, like the murkiness of human nature is not necessarily explored that much, because there has to be a very clear good guy and a very clear bad guy, whereas Australian cinema characters are a lot more murky. And I don't want to say like complex as in like there's no complex characters in American cinema, because that's obviously not true. But I think that also appealed to me, that like he's a person, so he does some shitty things, and but he's not completely horrible. And I think like I just don't view things as in like looking for who's good and who's evil, because I want to see the complexity in their characters, and blending that into it being like a coming of age story. And Josephine, I know you said like you really didn't like Kyle MacLachlan's character the first time you watched it. Like, I both was in love with him and wanted to be him. Like, he has always been the character that like I connected the most to. And there's I'm not good with quotes, but I wrote this one down because when I heard it, I was like, oh yes, oh my God, I remember this. There's a quote, I think it's Laura Dern, her character that says, "I don't know if you're a detective or a pervert," to Carl McLaughlin. And I'm like, well,
is that it?
In a nutshell.
I love that. And I mean, I have a different view on him now that I'm like a more fully formed adult. At 21, I was not. I was barely an adult, if even, quotes. I wasn't even like out as like a queer person, like in any regard at all. I wanted to say too, I mean, I think it's okay to generalize a little bit when we're talking about these things. Like, you don't need to keep, I don't think Mike and I are going to be like offended if you're like, American cinema is fucking simplistic as hell. And like
what?
We get it, but maybe Mike will, but I'll be fine. But
so many people are, though. I think it's just like an inbuilt.
I get that
after going through 2 film degrees. Like,
oof, yeah.
People get very excited when you
couldn't pay me to get a film degree. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
No, I can imagine. But before I mentioned American Beauty, and I was talking about how we lost our edge in American cinema, and I did mean the mainstream. As I was rewatching this film for this podcast, I was thinking about Greg Araki's, oeuvre, to use Mike's word, and Doom Generation. I think is a great like generational, because that was like I think 95, so it's like maybe 10 years later. So like a great generational jump to this film, and that is a film full of shitbags doing shitbag things that we still are on the side of, or we're exploring. Everyone's very polyamorous. There's gay stuff happening, but not quite. Like we're almost there. They wouldn't let Greg do that on screen, unfortunately. But I was thinking about that, and I also was thinking about. Oh, shoot, this was going somewhere really good. Now I've like totally lost it. I don't know. I've never had a thought in my life. Apparently, it's gone forever.
I'm so sorry. I feel like I.
No. You are totally fine. But Greg Araki is great. Is my point. Let's just do a little plug for my man, Greg Araki. Whatever. Down with heterosexuality. Sorry, Mike.
Here.
I knew what I was getting into when I invited you both on the show.
God, I'm gonna try to think about it, but I think it's.
I know. I was kind of giving you some time to see if it came back to you, because that's the worst feeling is when you're leading to a point and it just.
The point was Doom Generation, spiritual successor, maybe partially to this film. American Beauty. I think. Oh, you know what? Isabella Rossellini, in the scene where you first see her sexually assaulted by Dennis Hopper, she is enjoying it, sort of. It's very complicated. It's complicated, right? Like any survivor knows, those moments are very, very complicated. The afterwards is complicated. The lead up is complicated. It happening is complicated. This film was banned mostly because of that scene, because it showed a sexual assault survivor and victim in the scene enjoying it. That's what audiences got from it, that she was enjoying it, because you either enjoy or dislike what's happening there. Like that's how American minds work. And I think that it being banned in some cinemas for that reason, and the fact that we can't have that dichotomy without pulling it apart, or without being like, what happened was bad, she's not allowed to have trauma because it was bad, and now she's immediately going to get over it because it was bad. I think that softened that era of cinema. Like I think that we were trending. It was a symptom of a trend towards that total duality, right? Dichotomies. Like we can't have gray. It needs to be black or white. And dichotomy is the wrong word there, but you get dualities, whatever.
Yeah.
No, that's also the wrong word. Whatever. Binaries. So, but yeah, you can't have those binaries, or you have to have binaries. You can't have anything else. You can't have a dichotomy, which I think is happening in that scene. And I do think that led to like American Beauty, where you get this very confusing relationship about a pedophile who is a really good guy because he doesn't actually sleep with her. Then he kills himself. So.
Yeah, I mean, I feel, not to get too deep into that murky water of things, but I think that a lot of men, and this is not just in the US, a lot of men like to tell themselves that they're good people because, well, I think these things and I want to do these things and maybe I've done these things, but I haven't done those things. And so I'm a good dude. And I think that, as well as being a symptom of patriarchal society under white supremacy, it also, that shows up in cinema.
Yes.
That like the good dude, like I'm still a good dude, but maybe I've done a couple of things wrong. And I mean that in a different way from like characters are complex and like, you know, do some shitty things, do some good things. They're confused themselves. I'm talking more about kind of like more archetypal, you know, saviors or heroes within cinema who do horrible things, but they're, you know, they're still that like, but I'm still a good dude kind of.
That's the anti-hero, right? Like that's in some ways, like it's the part of the anti-hero archetype is like, I may have killed a bunch of people, but like, you know, I also, we were talking about, I keep bringing up Westerns because I'm in the middle of a project researching Westerns after presenting on them. But that's also an archetype within the Western. You know, once you get past the white hat, black hat era, when you get more into that anti-hero era, there are Western stars who sexually assault women on screen or like within romances. And then, but they're the good guy in the end. Like we're supposed to read them as good, but these women like put themselves in the situation, or they're sex workers or whatever, or actually this is very passionate sex, even though she's saying no the whole time. Like that's what passionate sex looks like. You know, like it's horrifying to watch, but at the end, he's going to shoot the bad guy, save the town. Like, yeah. And we're supposed to just, you know, bad people can do good things. Like that should be portrayed, should be talked about, but that's not how it's portrayed in a Western, right? In a Western, he is the good guy and he's going to walk away and we're going to be like, man, what a badass. Like, I want to be like him. Like that's supposed to be the ending.
And you mentioning that is like one of the biggest issues I had. So a couple seasons ago, we discussed on this show, the Clint Eastwood movie, High Plains Drifter. And there is a rape scene in that movie where he rapes this woman and he is supposed to be the hero. And it just really like ruined the entire movie for me because there was no way, no matter how many people who were trying to like explain away that scene, which was also kind of sickening. There's no way I could understand. I could fathom why they would have your hero, the person who in a Western that really plays by those archetypes, why he would do that. And spoiler for High Plains Drifter, you know, the whole idea is that he's getting revenge on this town. Well, this character had nothing to do with the people that he's getting revenge on. So it just becomes a power thing. And it really ruined that entire movie for me.
Harrison Ford in Blade Runner. He rapes whatever her name is, the simulacrum, whatever her name is. She says no and tries to leave, and he prevents her, and then has sex with her. And she wakes up the next morning in a daze. It's very like what's that racist movie about the South with Rhett
Birth
Butler?
of a Nation?
No, that's the original. The other one, Gone with the Wind.
Ah, yeah.
It's very Gone with the Wind, like, right? Because like the marital rape scene is like the scene where she's finally in love with him and has bought in, and then he leaves, right? Like and Rhett Butler is a good dude. He's messed up, but like he loves her, and then he maritally rapes her. Like it's really, you know, it's. But yeah, Harrison Ford's character in Blade Runner. That's my like line that I die on, especially with science fiction fans, because nobody, like men, cannot see that was a rape scene because Harrison Ford is so cool. She's so beautiful. She's looking at him so lovingly in the morning. Like, you know, it's total cognitive disconnect. And that's it being distressing to you, Mike. That is what, I don't want to like speak for Amber, but like my entire existence and experiences with men has mostly been dudes being like, yeah, I didn't see it that way. I don't know. Like, I think you're not understanding this thing that like sort of also happened to you. Like, you don't get it. You're maybe not getting it. Let me explain it to you. Like that has been 33 years of my existence. Like the gaslighting.
Yep. No, I definitely agree with that. In life and in cinema.
As in all things in life and cinema, I guess.
In life and in art. Yeah. I feel like things are very slowly changing. Obviously, some have always thought this stuff was horrible and seen women as people.
Certainly.
But I think one of the big issues is that the majority of cishet white men still don't see women as being human beings, and particularly when they're consuming media that is made by cishet white men for them, cishet white men. Yeah, they just think everything that happens is kosher. And, you know, obviously not to get like too psychological about it, but, you know, the way that they're brought up is
socialized out of them. Yeah.
To sexualize and objectify femme presenting people and not truly see them as human beings. But yeah, like it's very unfortunate, and I feel like I could write an entire book on the way that sexual violence is dealt with and mishandled in cinema, because like, whew, do I have a lot of individual essays in my head about certain films, but yeah, now I've lost my point. Oh no, it's okay. But yeah, I just, oh, that's what I was going to say. I feel like in my filmmaking, when I'm doing things with actors, or even when I'm using like repurposed cinema, I'm a big fan of the anti-hero, but not that kind of anti-hero.
Certainly.
Because to me, that person is still branded as the hero. To me, the anti-hero would be the dude who's like, I don't know, robbing banks and doing some low stuff, and then like shoots the rapist in the head, and everyone still thinks he's an asshole. That to me would be the anti-hero. But yeah, I really enjoy the anti-hero, and if I'm going to be putting labels on my characters in a lot of films that I've made, I definitely have anti-heroes, including one that I'm gearing up to try and get made again this winter. But yeah, in a different way to the way I think that a lot of people would view an anti-hero.
And I think we can redefine that archetype. And not that there aren't anti-heroes that I'm all about assholes who do good things that everyone ends up hating because they're dicks. Like, I sometimes feel like one in real life. It's great. It's fine. But I love having your perspective on that. And I also, not to like put anything onto your experiences, Mike, but even the idea of like men being socialized to see femme people as women and femme presenting people as like something to be sexualized, dehumanized. Even the experience of sitting around with your dude bros and them going, oh no, that wasn't a rape scene. Like, come on. Like, what are you talking about? Like that's fucked up. And but that's what happens from birth, right? It's like, the gaslighting is on all of us. And I do think it's socialized. Like, a young boy does not view a young, AFAB person as anything other than a playmate, right? Like, they're not thinking like, oh, like they can't throw the ball with me or whatever. Like, that's socialized into them that this person exists for their pleasure and or exists to serve them and or exists as a lesser being that needs to be like protected or whatever. Like, yeah.
No, I think that's extremely well said.
Great, because I feel tired as hell. I don't know what I'm saying at this point.
No, it's fine. And on that note, we could probably start wrapping up soon, just because it is getting kind of late. So before we move on to the final part of the show, which is the Thrill House moment, I wanted to just ask if there's anything else you wanted to say about Blue Velvet. I feel like there's a lot we could still say, but is there any final thoughts or anything with Blue Velvet?
It's a really pretty movie. Like, we didn't talk about filmmaking, or like, for me, it's like the mise en scène in this film. Like the sets, the costumes, like what a bunch of finite choices were made to create this, like, these jewel box sets that are totally enclosed and have this amazing action happening. Like, a really fine piece of filmmaking that we didn't touch on at all.
No.
Just fine.
Yeah, I guess I can lead on a little bit from that. I have a friend in LA. I mean, we're not super close anymore, but I know a person in LA for no reason other than
totally fine. Totally, yeah.
But she owns a clothing line and she makes robes, like velvet robes, and I'm waiting for a blue velvet robe because I would buy like fucking 4 of them just for myself in case I ever lost one or damaged one.
Hell, I would buy one too.
I know. I was thinking about a velvet robe this morning. That's so weird. This is, synchronicity.
I keep kind of like putting stuff in the comments, but I think I might have to contact her directly and be like, dude, I don't know if you so many colors. Why have you not done a blue velvet robe? Like, it would sell like hotcakes. So there's obviously the blue velvet robe, but one of my, apart from Carl McLaughlin's bum, one of my one of my other Thrill House moments is the blue eyeshadow that Isabella Rossellini wears. Like, I have been obsessed with blue eyeshadow, particularly with a dark or red lip, since I was a kid. The first time my dad took me to work with him at the ABC, which is like the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, where he worked on kids TV, I did my own makeup at like 2 a.m, because being a set dresser, we had to get there really early. Did my own makeup and had some like real intense blue eyeshadow happening that I think shocked everyone except the makeup department, who were like, yes, we see. But yeah, I mean, like, blue eyeshadow is still something I am obsessed with, and the film that I'm trying to get made, that I keep kind of floating in and out of during this conversation, it's going to be a 16mm black and white film, but the anti-hero protagonist lead is still going to be wearing blue eyeshadow, because I need those little details within my film. And yeah, the blue eyeshadow is just all by itself, not even really within context to anything else. That is something else that just like grabbed me and has had a hold of me for, you know, a good few decades.
I love that you brought up makeup, because I am obsessed with Lady Vengeance's red eyeshadow. And I would love to do like a series on like just, you know, and her whole thing was like, you know, she's getting revenge or whatever, but it wasn't really related. And Isabella Rossellini is a lounge singer, right? Like, but those motifs aren't directly related to what's going on. Like, they don't have like dramatic scenes where they're becoming their character necessarily. Like, in that film, the character that the film's named for, she puts it on one time and someone's like, what's with the eyeshadow? But like, that's it. There's not some dramatic scene where she's like cutting her hair and like doing her makeup, you know. It's just like, oh no, this is who I am now. And I am obsessed with that too. Like, but certainly in this film as well, that blue eyeshadow is this beautiful motif. Makeup in cinema is like a whole different like conversation or series of conversation. Yes. I am with you on that. I love the use of makeup where it's not like, oh, this is how it came to be. It's just like either something they happen to do or the way that they already present themselves. But there are these such iconic moments that are linked to these films and these characters. And yeah, it just, to me, it comes back to like showing the humanity of the character, that they're not just this like one-dimensional, you know, made up thing for entertainment, that they're, you know, the characters are, you know, supposed to be presenting like real and authentic people. And it's like little details like that I really get excited about.
Yeah. And I would say, like, for me, one thing that I think this movie does really well is this concept of big world, small window, where it's, you know, something that later on when David Lynch and Mark Frost would go on to do Twin Peaks, they could show more of this type of world. But if you think about it, this movie is, you know, all you have is Isabella Rossellini's apartment, like maybe one or two other apartments, the club, which I can't remember, was it the Slow Club? Laura Dern's house, and like that's it. But we know that this, like, we have a feeling of how deep all this goes and how big this world is, but we only see just a really small little piece of it. But that's all we necessarily need to see. And that actually kind of leads into my Thrill House moment, where once again, like the scene that stuck with me since I was young till even now is just him discovering that ear, and that ear is just kind of what leads you into that big world, but you're just seeing it from a really small window.
Love that.
And then Josephine, do you have a Thrill House moment? We've heard Amber's.
What's the Thrill House moment again? Explain to me the hypothesis here.
Yeah, the Thrill House moment is just you're like, the scene, your clincher scene, the scene that kind of made you sit up and realize that you're into this, or the scene that just kind of sticks out to you the most? Just, favorite little bit.
See, it's hard for me because I don't think, as much as I've talked about this movie, as much as I got out of it, I'm not sure. I still am not sure that I like this film. Like, I think it's a super important film. I think it's a very good film. I don't think I like it. Like,
and that's fair. And
sounds like real, But yeah, I don't think that this film has one for me. And I do think, as much as I struggle with David Lynch's work, even the films that I hate of his the most, like Mulholland Drive, which shocks everybody, but I hate that movie. I hate it so much. That movie has Thrilhouse moments for me, and this film does not. I just feel like about it. Like, it's beautiful. It was really well made. I got what he was trying to do. I got what he was saying, but it did not draw me in.
That's perfectly fine. All right. So the last thing I want to do just before we wrap this up is, Amber, I want to give you the microphone and tell us about the Milwaukee Illuminate Film Festival and give us all the information so anyone listening can support.
Thank you. The Milwaukee Illuminate Film Festival, or MIF for short, is a new local festival here in Milwaukee that showcases and highlights the work of underrepresented artists and artists from marginalized communities. We are ramping up to have our first event soon. We're still working on a venue and an exact date, but it will be late November, early December, that we will be having our first in-person event. Even though we are a local film festival, we accept films from all over the world. Films between 1 and 20 minutes are our jam. You can find us on our website at mkemiff.com, mkemiff. You can find us on Instagram at mke_miff. The same on TikTok, mke_miff. We just got a Letterboxd page where we are reviewing films that kind of fit in with our vision as a film festival. Every Monday, one of our team members does a film review on Letterboxd. We have a LinkedIn page. We're like, we just got a social media. We just got a PR and social media intern, so we're like branching out everywhere. But probably the best place to find us would be on our Instagram at mke_miff, because we have a link tree with links to everything else. That's kind of our hub of communications. We have a Film Freeway page where you can submit your films. That can also be found through the link tree. But yeah, we're a little baby festival. We're just growing roots and really trying to do something a little bit different. As much as there are a lot of cishet white men who make films that I absolutely love, a lot of film festivals are catered to, whether they mean to or not, particularly in terms of programming, are catered towards and for cishet white men. So we are doing the opposite of that, and we are supporting and catering to everybody but, which doesn't mean, if you are a cishet white man and you have made a film in collaboration with somebody who's queer, a person of color, or your film involves that subject matter, you definitely can enter it. We're not excluding those films, but we really are looking for works that are made by filmmakers from marginalized communities and marginalized identities.
Awesome.
Perfect. So if you are in the Milwaukee area, once all that information is announced about location and dates, make sure you come on out. I'll be buying a ticket and we'll be there supporting the film festival. And then if you are a filmmaker that falls within the underrepresented voices of film and video, make sure you are submitting to this film festival. You will not regret it. All right. This has been a long show. Anything else you guys want to say?
No.
I don't think so. I think I've reached the point of delirium. I've had an amazing time. Thank you.
This has been a fun episode. We talked about dicks so much on this show.
Thank you for having me on and listening to no context. What was it? Context?
Cock context.
Cock context.
Context and
Cock-tent.
Dude bro show.
Me go on and on about Carl McLaughlin's bum.
Both important topics.
Well, and that scene was funny too, just because like it wasn't just bum. You got to see a little bit of a flop in that scene too.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, Amanda, it flopped, and she goes, "It did." He's like, "Yeah, let's rewind it." And we rewound it and rewatched it.
Yes. Many of the VHS tape has been
worn out.
That's the scene that scrambled the most.
Right.
Hilarious.
That's why VHS is a time capsule, because you can always see where people was rewinding the most.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, thank you both for joining, and everyone listening, you know where to find the show by now. I'm not even going to go over it all. Thank you very much, and you all have a good night.
Yay.
Told you that was going to be a great episode, and I didn't lie. Josephine and Amber Rose, while they weren't in complete agreement about their feelings on Blue Velvet, I think the way that they viewed this film and all the queer themes is incredible. Plus, how often do you get to just talk about Kyle MacLachlan's butt for like 5 minutes? That's great. But as I promised, before we wrap this show up, I am going to do my new segment. It Came From Severin. So, as I said very recently, the show has partnered with Severin Films, and they recently have. I recently was able to talk about the Eurocult collection of Christopher Lee. If you check out my TikTok, which I'm just shameless picture show on TikTok, I do a deep dive of this collection where I break it down and show you everything that's inside of it. But I wanted to save my reviews for these a little bit more long form for the podcast itself. And I believe at the time of this recording, if you go down to Video Nerd in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, you can pick up a copy of this, I believe. That was something I was talking to the guys at Video Nerd about, and they should be having copies of the Eurocult of Christopher Lee on hand, and that's Video Nerd at 1625 East Irving Place. If they don't have the Eurocult set up yet, I know they will have it soon. So please check them out, and just check them out for other cool stuff. They have a lot of boutique labels. I believe they work with they obviously work with Severin. I believe they work with Vinegar Syndrome and some other cool stuff. So if they can probably get it for you, and you should be checking that out. So sorry, I just opened the case for some reason. So today I'm going to be talking about, as I said, Crypt of the Vampire. It's gone by a couple of different names. I believe it was also known as Terror in the Crypt, but it is an Italian Spanish horror film. I'll read the back of the box. So DVD drive-in. So I'm going to start with the review. It says truly haunting, brimming with atmosphere and shot in authentic Gothic ruins. It's a must for anyone who enjoys vintage horror starring Christopher Lee. And that was a review by DVD Drive-In. And this is the first official U.S. Blu-ray release, now scanned from a fine-grain 35mm master. In a lavish Gothic shocker inspired by Sheridan Le Fanu's immortal novella Camillo, Christopher Lee delivers a rare hero turn as nobleman Count Karnstein, whose foreboding castle teems with ancestral curses, unnatural desires, philosophical hunchbacks, and grisly acts of vengeance. Adriana Ambessi, from Fangs of the Living Dead, co-stars in this 1964 Spanish-Italian co-production, also known as Terror in the Crypt and Crypt of Horror, directed by, I'm going to mispronounce his name, directed by Camillo Mastrocinque, an angel for Satan, and he went by the name Thomas Miller and Robert Spafford, from a screenplay by Ernesto Gastaldi, who wrote All the Colors of the Dark, as Julian Barry, and Tonino Valeri, who made the movie My Name is Nobody, as Robert Bower, now featuring a 2K scan from a fine-grained 35mm print. DVD Talk also says a fantastic-looking movie. It's hard not to be impressed by the visuals and imagery. Lee casts against type, as has charm and charisma aplenty.
Look deeply into these eyes if you dare. Is this man a victim, trapped within the ancient walls of the castle of Karnstein by the workings of a terrible curse? Or is he the arch-criminal himself? What strange ceremonies take place in the darkest dungeons of the castle? Rites of black magic, dominated by the dread symbol of the five-pointed star, which heralds the arrival of death. He claims yet another victim, this victim from beyond the tomb. She runs from him in desperation, but she knows that there is no escape. A A student of ancient manuscripts finds a clue to the identity of the murderer, but the inhabitants of the castle are to undergo many more nights of terror before he succeeds in revealing the blood-chilling secret of the terror in the crypt. Terror in the Crypt.
When I was in London recently, they informed me that you were the best person to satisfy my curiosity on a certain matter.
I am at your disposition. Go on, sir.
A matter, I should add, of life and death.
Then why don't we get married?
You could be my daughter.
All right, then adopt me.
I don't find that amusing.
It's because I want to become a Karnstein in any way I can.
Why?
Oh, because it would be nice to have a great fancy K embroidered on my robe.
Is that the only reason?
Christopher Lee, star of some of the most terrifying horror films ever made, gives his greatest performance as the master of Karnstein Castle. If you are able to withstand scenes of nightmarish horror, you will find yourself a fascinated witness as a sadistic murderer relentlessly pursues his terrible revenge. Who is the ruthless killer? How does one escape a lust for vengeance that reaches down through the centuries from beyond the tomb? Terror in the Crypt, a film of breathtaking suspense and blood-chilling horror.
Laura!
Terror in the Crypt, directed by Thomas Miller, starring Christopher Lee, with Audrey Amber, Ursula Davis, Jose Campos, Vera Valmont, and Nela Conjou.
These Italian films were always really interesting, or Italian-Spanish horror films, because they would often give the filmmakers American-sounding names because people didn't want to go see foreign films. So this is the first one I pulled out because, title Crypt of the Vampire, you're thinking vampires, you're thinking Christopher Lee. It is officially October, and that just felt like the right way to go. So, with this film, I will admit, and I always try to be very honest with my reviews. Just because something is supposed to be considered a classic does not mean I'm going to love it, and just because something is considered shit does not mean I'm not going to find something I enjoy out of it. I'm also, at times, painfully honest. So we live in a world where there's a lot of things going on. Things are very fast paced. And whether or not you believe in it or not, neurodivergence is a thing. ADD, ADHD, it is all a thing. And while I do my very best as a lover of cinema to try to avoid any distraction, sometimes as a cinema lover, I am not always in the right headspace for particular films. And I'm giving this introduction because when I sat down to watch Crypt of the Vampire, I think this was one of those situations where I just truly was not in the right state of mind to watch this film. And I mentioned that because I'm actually quite a big fan of moody gothic pieces. I'm a sucker for movies about witchcraft. I'm a sucker for movies about vampires. This movie does have incredible production design, incredible wardrobe. Everyone looks amazing, men and women. I love these Euro Gothic stories, satanic rituals. It's got, creepy, cold castle corridors, all these things, all this atmosphere, these fog-drenched sets. I love all of that. I'm also really into, especially Gothic horror films that have LGBTQIA plus themes to them, and I know the Carmilla stories usually do. Movies like The Vampire Lovers is a movie that I absolutely love. Hammer really was great with movies like this, or something like Daughters of Darkness. Movies like that are my jam. So when I was watching Crypt of the Vampire, and it's at a brisk 85 minutes, so it's really not even that long, just something wasn't quite connecting with me. So I mentioned that this film is, as it says, has Christopher Lee, because it's part of the Eurocult of Christopher Lee collection, and he plays Count Karnstein, who is a wealthy and reclusive count who is getting more and more worried that there's a curse from one of his ancestors that's going to affect his daughter Laura, and he wants to look into this. So he calls for a researcher named, I think his name is Klaus, who has to dig through all the family records, all the books and all this stuff to find out if there's any truth to this. And while all this is happening, Laura is befriending this other woman I don't remember the name of, and they grow closer and closer. And we start to find out that this new woman is involved with this curse. What I think wasn't working for me in this film, besides the fact that I just unfortunately was not in the right headspace for it, is Christopher Lee plays Count Karnstein. And I should also mention a film that I mentioned earlier, The Vampire Lovers, is also within the same world of, it's apparently a trilogy, the Karnstein trilogy. Along with, because Karnstein is a character in that film as well, which is also, I think, a loose adaptation of the Carmilla story. So it's all kind of within the same world. I don't think they're necessarily sequels of each other or anything like that, but The Vampire Lovers is set kind of, I guess, in the same world as Crypt of the Vampire. I need to do a little more digging on that, but because The Vampire Lovers was made by Hammer, and this movie was not, but still, it's something worth mentioning. I really like The Vampire Lovers, I'm sorry. What I think wasn't working for me on this film is I went into this thinking that this was a Christopher Lee vehicle. This was a movie that was going to have a lot of Christopher Lee, and Christopher Lee was in this, don't get me wrong, and he's quite good in this movie. It's great to see Christopher Lee, when he is focused and really into the part. Adriana Ambessi, who plays Laura Karnstein, she's great in this film as well. So is Ursula Davis, who plays the other woman. But I think really where my issues come from is Christopher Lee is in the beginning of this film, and then he just kind of disappears for a while until near the end. And Jose Campos, who plays the character of Klaus, he kind of takes over as the lead character. And there's nothing wrong with Jose Campos. I actually think he kind of reminds you a little of Sylvester Stallone. But I went in looking for a creepy gothic Christopher Lee movie, and Christopher Lee kind of bookended this movie. And it was more so a story about Jose Campos' character Klaus, discovering the true story behind the Karnstein curse. So I think some of this has to do with expectations versus reality. Once again, that is a Meath problem. I went in with the perspective on a movie, and I had a certain idea of what I wanted this movie to be, instead of trying to appreciate what the movie is. And sometimes, as a film critic or film culturist, as I like to call myself, that will happen. You try to go in with as blank of a slate as possible, and try to judge a movie based on what it is, not what you want it to be. But we're human. I wanted a creepy Christopher Lee movie, and I got a creepy gothic film that had Christopher Lee, but it didn't feel like a Christopher Lee movie to me. I feel like this is a movie that upon rewatch I might enjoy quite a bit more. But currently in Letterboxd, I gave it 2.5 stars. I couldn't doubt that the film was well made. It really was. It just wasn't what I wanted it to be. So once again, that is a me problem, not necessarily a problem for the movie. So CRYPT of the Vampire was shot by cinematographer Julio Ortas, who made a lot of Italian and Spanish horror films. So obviously he did CRYPT of the Vampire. He did Light the Fuse, Sartana is Coming. So he did a couple of the Sartana films. Lots of spaghetti westerns. He did Ringo, The Mark of Vengeance, Lone and Angry Man. He did Sword of Zorro. So a lot of Italian westerns. And this movie was shot in, from what I've been able to find online, it was shot in the aspect ratio of 1.85 to 1, and I believe that's how it was presented on this disc. It looked like 1.85 to 1 to me. It was shot using spherical lenses on 35mm film. The film, I do have to say, looked quite good. So according to the box, it was a 2K scan from a 35mm fine grain master print, which when you have a fine grain print, obviously you still have grain, but it's not too chunky. It's not going to be too distracting. I also appreciate that it looks like the print that they used carried its original Italian titles, which is kind of fun. I thought it actually looked pretty good. I thought there was a lot of great clarity despite the grain. Like I said, it was fine grain, so it wasn't too bad. What if I had noticed any real issue? It's in the darker scenes. There was mild streaking, meaning like those light streaks along the darker scenes, but that looked like it was an issue with the print, not necessarily anything to do with the way that Severin transferred it. There was definitely a little bit of damage throughout the print, but it looked really, really good. It was a really nice looking presentation. Like I said, nice contrast on it, good black levels. I didn't notice any egregious black crush, if there was any throughout. In terms of audio, there is both an English and Italian 2.0 mono track. According to my notes, I believe they are both DTS HD master audio. I guess I can't confirm that with the Italian. I did not actually sample the Italian. But the English track actually sounds quite good. I feel like it was a little muffled near the beginning at times. But once again, it is a product of its time. It is dubbed, but pretty much all Italian and Spanish films were dubbed at this time. So I've actually thought it sounded quite good, despite all the issues it might have had in its age. So yeah, in terms of on this specific disc, the only special feature is a trailer. But like I said, for me, I had a hard time getting into CRYPT of the Vampire. But that's not to say I won't get into it further later on. Hell, I love The Vampire Lovers. The first time I saw it, I was a little on the fence about it, but I love it now. So, if anything, this is going to be me saying, sometimes you just got to give things a rewatch. Give things a try. Just because you don't love it the first time does not mean you might not gravitate towards it the second. So, my first review for the Eurocult of Christopher Lee collection is CRYPT of the Vampire. I gave it 2.5 stars on Letterboxd. I do want to rewatch it. But if you like this movie, let me know. I'm sure I'm missing something. But I really think it was just I wasn't in the right mindset for it. But I truly love Christopher Lee. I love gothic vampire films. So I definitely think down the line this will be my bag. But first watch, Wasn't for me, but we'll give it a shot again down the road. And before I wrap up, I do want to first thank the regional warrior, Matt Harding, for believing in the Shameless Picture Show and helping this new segment come together. Also, please be sure to follow Severin Films on all forms of social media, from Instagram, Facebook, and so on. And if you are in the Midwest area, make sure you are paying attention to Severin's event pages. So, they do have some events coming up on Friday, October 28th at 3 p.m. to about midnight. They will be at the Wheaton Haunted Flea Market in Wheaton, Illinois. That's 2015 Manchester Road in Wheaton, Illinois. Severin will be there. And if you're in my area of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, make sure you are going to the Halloween Takeover, where they're showing Eyes of Fire and Dark Waters. That is at the famous X-Ray Arcade on South Packard Avenue in Cudahy, Wisconsin. Severin will be there. Catacombs Media will be there. Video Vomit will be there. Video Nerd will be there. There's going to be horror trivia, prizes. There's no cover charge. And there's going to be a John Carpenter cover set by Brotherhood of Sleep. There will also be food and drink specials, trick-or-treat candy, and a bunch of other cool things. That's the Halloween Takeover at the world-famous X-Ray Arcade in South Packard Avenue in Cudahy, Wisconsin. They'll be showing Eyes of Fire and Dark Water. Unfortunately, I won't be there because I will be shooting a new teaser trailer for a project that I've got coming up. But you should all be there and show Severin how much you guys love them. So that's all I got for you guys. Thank you very much. I wanted to make sure I mentioned this. Have a good week.
The Shameless Picture Show is recorded in Milwaukee, Wisconsin and Easton, Maryland, and is hosted and produced by Nick Richards and Michael Vyers. Today's episode was edited by Michael Vyers. Our opening theme music was written especially for us by The Directionals, with narration by Zach McLean. The end credit music you're enjoying at the moment was generously provided by my friends in the band 10 Speed. The Shameless graphic design is masterfully done by Amanda Vyers. An extra special thank you to all of our Patreon supporters and to our generous sponsors. We are on Spotify, Stitcher Radio, iTunes, Google Play, and Libsyn. You can find links for all these amazing people in the description below.